Hi friends, I'm Geo, and I love that you found my little channel. Welcome. I write gay short fiction, and sometimes long fiction, usually with a romance between men. Then I present it as a soft-spoken ASMR. What has happened? The specialist has arrived and will be cybernetizing Rias's damaged marrow. Captain Rowan and Carruthers have also arrived to take Ian with them into space. Ian doesn't know that, though. Ian is on Shuttle 2 and is currently flying after the lost drone of the Adi-Shachar, his former ship. It is believed that the drone contains the undamaged logs and recordings of the Adi-Shachar, which might have a clue about why the raiders are in Nuestra and why they shot down the ship. Here we go. Chapter 22 of The Dark. MRD-1 System. Smiling Minds. Shuttle 2. Ian. I don't understand. There was no medical emergency, Elias said, floating behind us on the pilot deck of the shuttle. But the message. We had launched from the Smiling Mines with all the miners and their gear, but no ore in less than 30 minutes. Nobody wanted to stay longer than necessary. We weren't taking the direct route back to Nuestra, but one a little bit different. Chef might have broken her toe getting to the refresher, one of the miners said. Do you have to tell him? We only have 6 days on our shift. It could wait, Chef said. She folded her arms and let out a long breath. Do you know what everyone is going to say now? I made the medic come here because I had a hangnail. Datapad, replay emergency message from the miners, I said. That figures. Rias made his boyfriend a datapad like his, Chef said. That's as good as a ring, one of the miners said. It must be love. It's not quite like his, I said, flexing my cybernetic arm. The AI in my arm actually did all the thinking and used my datapad only for its display. The message played, audio only, and repeated the same statement. Nuestra, Mayday, this is the Smiling Mines. One of the tunnels has collapsed and crushed some of the miners. We have a couple of broken arms, a broken leg, and one woman has a head injury and won't wake up. We need immediate medical attention. We didn't send it, one of the miners said. Who sent it then? Elias said. The raiders? It wouldn't be hard, Gutierrez said, setting the course for a nearby sector of space. Place your ship between Nuestra and Smiling so it seems to come from the right direction. Copy a pre-recorded opening from an earlier message, and insert whatever you want. They lured us out here, I said, and adjusted our course. I would feel much safer back with Rias. Gutierrez, anything on sensors? Nothing yet, but this sitting around is making me nervous, Gutierrez said. Same here. We're a sitting target while we're near the mine, I said. We're getting out of here. Maximum speed. Datapad, inform me when anything enters sensor range. Do you think something else is waiting for us? Gutierrez asked, engaging main thrusters and adjusting vectors so we would be gone. I shrugged, but my gut told me it was a matter of time. Elias, check with the miners and see if any of them know something about tech. We need somebody to look at the missiles we stole. I wish I could help you with that, but I'm trained with people. Where's Rias when you need him? Elias said, and blew a breath out, and floated back to the miners. Gutierrez, turn off all running lights and all communications. Bring life support to minimum and cut off all unnecessary power. Sensors at max. Set course for the drone's most likely location. I want as low of an energy profile as possible. Aye, aye, Captain Alvarado, he said, grinning. You hear that, Shuttle 2? No communications allowed. Our course is locked in, and we're flying sneaky. Captain, does that mean I get paid more? I said. Do you honestly expect a fancy title means you get to cut in line at the food court? Gutierrez said. It would be nice, I said. Elias floated back in and steadied himself on the back of my chair. Get serious, you two. Nobody here knows anything about missiles. Why were the raiders gunning for us? It's obvious. They did it to get a medic out here, Gutierrez said. I guess that's logical. Do you think one of the raiders is injured? Elias said. They have a lousy way of asking for help. They shot at us first and didn't even try to communicate, I said. They're holding a grudge against medics and shuttles, Gutierrez said. All three of us were at the meeting where we discovered the traitors. Maybe they want to destroy us, thinking it will send a message back to Nuestra to stay out of their way? Perlita and Tristan were captured too fast for them to send a message, and Madre was shut down soon after, I said, not liking the feeling in my gut. How many medics are on Nuestra? Me and Doc, Elias said. Plus some people are trained in emergency first aid because we have to use the trams like everybody else. That's one of the reasons I live in North Dome, and Doc lives in South Dome, so a medic is theoretically only minutes away. If the raiders blew us out of the sky, then there'd only be one medic. Elias, I guess you got unlucky this time, Gutierrez said, tapping the controls. Muñeca is never going to let me leave again, Elias said. I rubbed my chin and pursed my lips. A suspicion began to form in my head, one that I couldn't really explain, but it made me uneasy. Elias, can I see your datapad? Sure, he said, and went back into the back and brought it forward. It's an old one. My dad gave it to me when I turned 13 and entered middle school. You never traded it in for a new one? Gutierrez asked. All my pictures of Muñeca are on it, and my parents, Elias said. I know I could transfer them to a newer model, but I like this one. I'm used to it. So what's the point? Let's find out, I said. Datapad, Shuttle 2, sync, and give me the stats of Elias's datapad. The readings came up on my datapad. Elias's datapad was a basic model and didn't have an AI. It did have extended storage, but that was filled with a medical database, medical information of everybody on Nuestra, and thousands of pictures of his family. The only feature that made it unique was a continual medical readout of Muñeca and their 3-year-old boy's condition that would work once we were in range of Nuestra. I had a similar medical readout about Rios, so it wasn't that unusual. Good thing I didn't have any compromising pictures. You could have asked me what was on it, Elias said, taking his datapad back, and I would have told you. Rios is rubbing off on him, Gutierrez said. I think you need to tell us what you are looking for, Elias asked. A reason about why you are as unlucky as the rest of us, I said. 50% chance of either Elias or Doc being with us, 100% chance that it was me and Gutierrez that would be flying, and if it hadn't been for what I learned from Rios, it would have been 100% our destruction. I didn't like what my gut told me. A few hours later, my shift on the controls ended, and I wandered back to the miners and let Gutierrez take over. What can you tell me about Rios? I asked one of the miners. When he was younger, he fixed the coffee maker for my wife. It's a self-grinding type, using beans we grow here. He had that thing so high-powered that it didn't grind the beans, but pulverized them so fine they were like baker's flour. It made my wife sneeze, and we got coffee dust everywhere, one of the miners said. I think the only person he didn't drive crazy was his dad, Zacharias. May he rest in peace, the miner said. You forget, even Zacharias got upset with him once, Chef said. Rios was about 15 or 16, and he reorganized their entire apartment. Everything had to be a certain way. Zacharias left his arm on the charger and marched down to get a beer. He said that if he didn't get away from his boy, he'd start yelling, and he promised his wife he wouldn't do that. Kid has his heart in the right place, all lined up like everything else, one of the miners said. That sounds like Rios, I said. Right before Zacharias died, Perlita yelled at Rios for something stupid, made him feel pretty bad. So what does he do? Does he go off and sulk like a normal kid? No, not Rios. For the next 3 hours, he polished every one of the ketchup and mustard dispensers in the North Dome food court, lined them up in a row on a ledge in an alternating pattern based on sine waves. Do you know what he did next? He figured out a way to upgrade them, and he did so. You have to admit, they worked pretty good after that, Chef said, chuckling. What was the fight about? I asked. One of the miners grinned. Rios had upgraded one of the crawler AI modules without telling anybody. It had an attitude. Crawler 3, I think. Perlita tried to tell it what to do, but the crawler decided it didn't like Perlita ordering it around and called her a few names. A crawler isn't supposed to talk back. Same with Rias's datapad, but they do anyway. Rias makes stuff out of whatever's around him and only later realized he should have asked first, somebody said. He did the same thing with my arm. He took the 1 cent from Campbell Station, had it pulled apart, and demolished Doc's cart for metal before anybody noticed, I said. It's a nice arm, Chef said. It's too bad what happened to Rias. I hope your boyfriend makes it. That made me melancholic. It will be days before I get back. I hope Rias is all right. Me too, I said. How can a life change in only a few weeks? How can a person fall in love in so short a time? Rias had changed my life, and I loved him. Ian, can you come up here for a second? Gutierrez yelled from the pilot's deck. I floated over to the pilot's deck and joined him. Something up? I asked. Your datapad found something on rear sensors, Gutierrez said. I picked up my datapad and flipped through some screens. Enhanced rear sensors. Another Dagger XF. It was outside our normal range, but inside of Rias's upgraded range. My throat tightened and I couldn't say anything. For a moment, I was back in the pilot's chair of the Adi-Shachar, racing away from our attackers. A missile hit. The air rushed out of the command deck, and I ran to the wheel lock and closed it. I made sure Guacamole was strapped in and headed back to the pilot's chair. Robinson, get out of there, I yelled into comms, but there was no response. A hand on my shoulder brought me to the present. My heart raced, and my cybernetic hand gripped my pilot's chair so hard it left indents. Gutierrez leaned toward me, concern in his eyes. You okay? Do you want me to get Elias? No. Sometimes I'm back on the Adi-Shachar, crashing all over again, I said. I hear you, Gutierrez said. Let's figure a way out of this. Think, what would Rias do? I took a breath and focused on the now. They must know our standard sensor range. Look at them stay out of it. Do you think they know we destroyed their other ships? Gutierrez asked. We weren't quiet about it, I said. They probably want to find out how, but don't want to get too close. Gutierrez checked the console and made some adjustments. Main communications are still shut down. That means somebody has planted a transmitter broadcasting our location. We have to find it, or they'll keep finding us, I said, suddenly glad I had something to do. I went back to Elias and the miners. A dagger is following us. Perlita and Tristan must have planted a transmitter. We've got to find it. What if it's outside? Elias said. Ground crew would have already found it. Everybody searched for it as if our lives depended on it, I said. Because they do, Chef said. And the miners searched throughout the compartment. Elias floated to the first aid kit and searched through it before checking some panels near it. I went back to my datapad. Datapad? Shuttle 2? We're looking for a signal. Tell me the second you find it. How much time do we have? One of the miners asked. I opened an access panel to Bridge Electronics and I said, They haven't bothered us for a long time. If we pretend we don't see them, maybe they will leave us alone. Gutierrez, let's make the ride really boring and see what they do. Slow us down a little, maybe 5%, but no more. Every instinct says run. Grimacing, Gutierrez flipped through the controls and adjusted our speed. Done. I estimate the slower speed will add 6 hours to our flight time. CNC's not going to like that. I don't like that. They'll like us getting killed even less, I said. Rias wasn't the only one who could play tricks with his datapad. Datapad, I need to know the second the Dagger launches any missiles. Shuttle 2, maintain distance and speed. Alert us if the other ship does anything besides follow us. Signal detected, my datapad said. Crap, what kind? Gutierrez said. It's an intermittent signal timed at 5-minute intervals, my datapad said. Does it have an AI? I asked. Negative, my datapad said. Location? I asked. Engine access panel, my datapad said. I floated to the rear of the shuttle and found the panel. I wish Rias was here. I opened the panel and looked in. I was used to the control deck on a cargo hauler, not the engines of a shuttle. It had too many wires, circuits, and odd components I didn't recognize. Gutierrez, get back here and see what doesn't belong. Gutierrez floated back and spent a minute studying the panel. It's that small black rectangle, and from what I can tell, it's wired into main power. How do we get rid of it? One of the miners asked. I'm not Rias, so there won't be anything fancy, I said. It took me 15 minutes to take it off, and only a few seconds to shove it into the airlock and let it drift into space. We didn't lose our tail. When I was an hour late, Rias would start to worry. When I was 6 hours late, he'd think the raiders got me, and he'd panic. I didn't have a choice, though. I had to hide from the raiders. Okay, guys, sit back and get some sleep. We'll be taking a little detour to see if we can avoid our tail. I'll let you know if anything comes up, I said. 5 hours later, we were in the sector that most likely the drone flew to. I was at the controls, and I had to turn the communications on. I sent out the retrieval signal for the drone. Though we maintained our slower speed, so did the dagger that followed us. The drone had to be here. This location had the highest probability of success. About 2 hours into our flight, we got a signal back from the drone. Gutierrez, tell everybody we found it, I yelled. He came floating in, stared at the screens, and strapped in. Miners, strap in. We're going for a joyride. Put your helmets on. We will need help retrieving that baby. Shuttle AI, lock onto drone, match speed and course. Any sign of our tail? I said. The Dagger XF has not altered its course. It still remains out of the old sensor range, but within the upgrade, my datapad said. We flew for 15 minutes until the drone came into visual range. Drones have a basic grav drive and comm unit. Once it gets up to speed, it shuts off and waits for a recall signal. Our drone was gray, had the words property of LRCH Adishachar written on the side, with a couple of rust spots and a big dent in the middle. Something had hit it. I adjusted our course to bring us alongside. Shuttle 2, signal retrieval, Gutierrez said, and adjusted our speed and course to exactly match the drone. The drone didn't respond. It could be low on power, or something has damaged its motherboard or comm system, I said. What would Rias do? Gutierrez, bring us within 10 meters. Datapad, when we're within range, sync with the drone's AI. It took 2 minutes, and Gutierrez showed how good he was. The shuttle matched course and speed of the drone and came within 10 meters. My datapad said, connection established. Good, I said. Download the information stored in the drone. Affirmative, my datapad said. Mr. Gunther will want the drone. Can you initiate recall command? Gutierrez asked. Negative. Unit has suffered damage to main boards controlling communications and grav drive. It can thrust forward or come to a stop. Ideas? I asked Gutierrez. Gutierrez thought for a moment. Deactivate the drone's grav drive and bring it to a full stop. We'll pick it up through the rear hatch. The AI must have thought he was talking to it. In process. Full stop in 20 minutes. Gutierrez smiled. It listened to me. I need Rias to upgrade my datapad. Datapad, what's the Dagger doing? I asked. Matching our course and speed, the datapad said. We'll be a sitting target, I said, and they still want us dead. We were almost at full stop when my datapad said, Alert, missile detected. Any chance of dodging it? Gutierrez said. The missile has an AI and has locked on to Shuttle 2, Shuttle 2 said. Datapad, Shuttle 2, tag team that missile. Take control of it, I said. Elias, you and the miners get the drone inside. We have company. What is so important about us? Elias yelled. Full stop. We are 10 meters from the drone, Gutierrez said. That's close enough, Chef yelled. Let's show these flyboys that miners get the job done. I expect combat, Bay, somebody yelled. I stopped paying attention to them. There was no denying the missile headed for us. Though we were its target, I don't think its target was on board. I needed to talk to Emilio because something about this mission made me sick. Elias had a wife and a 3-year-old kid. Gutierrez had a wife and a kid on the way. To do that to them, I'd let Emilio know my suspicions, but I needed Rias to find proof. 2 minutes until the missile is in range, my datapad said. We don't have anything on board that is worth destroying, and there is no way they could know about the drone. Could they? Gutierrez said. I think they're tying up loose ends as best they can, I said, unable to keep the bitterness out of my voice. But they miscalculated. They got the wrong medic. Elias is really good at his job. What do you mean? Gutierrez said. Second missile launched, my datapad said. Damn, I said and yelled into the comm. Elias, Chef, how soon? We've attached tow lines and are hauling it in. Say, 5 minutes, one of the miners said. They've launched a second missile. Elias, how did you get assigned to this mission? I asked. Doc ordered me, Elias said. Chef, watch the tow cable on your side. It's swinging odd. What do you mean? Chef said. Datapad, give me visual, I said. It wasn't fast enough. A cable hit Chef right across the faceplate. Her comm died. She's leaking atmosphere. Get her back inside. Now, Elias yelled. Ian, Gutierrez, we have to make this fast. What's going on? Gutierrez said. Do you need help? Elias, you're on your own. We've got 2 missiles locked onto us, I said. Everybody, hurry. First missile closing, Gutierrez said. What do we do? Once everybody is on board, you need to pilot us out of here, I yelled. Missile within range, my datapad said. Break the encryption and take control of that missile, I yelled. Everybody who's outside, step it up. How's Chef? Gutierrez asked. We're inside, Elias said. Vital signs seem normal, but I'm worried about oxygen levels. Datapad, we need to hurry, I said. We couldn't move this shuttle until everybody was inside. I could rotate it to bring them in line with the rear hatch. I'm adjusting our position a little, so don't panic. He says not to panic, and we have 2 missiles heading for us, a miner said. Datapad, any time now, I said. Encryption broken, my datapad said. Change target lock back to the Dagger and give me communications to the Dagger, I said. Then shut down its engines and drop all of its missiles. If it makes any kind of hostile action, blow it up. Communications now available, but there is a 30-second lag time, my datapad said. Dagger XF, this is Shuttle 2. I'm calling for your complete surrender. If not, I will destroy you. Acknowledge receipt of this message, I said. Is that a good idea? Gutierrez said. No, I said, watching both the second missile approach and the slow retrieval of the drone. I'm making this up as I go. Datapad, Shuttle 2, seize control of the second missile as soon as it's in range. Affirmative. The message has had time to reach the Dagger, but it has not replied. It is sending out another message, my datapad said. I want to hear it, I said. Mayday, Mayday. Captain, they're seizing control of our technology somehow, and I think they've detected me. My ship is no longer responding. The intel we've gotten from our agents is wrong. Repeat, it is wrong. Mayday, Mayday. Drone inside. We're securing it with a grav field, a miner said through the comm. Give us a couple of minutes. We don't have a couple of minutes, Gutierrez said, bringing us back to speed. Engines are down. They've taken all my missiles. I only have one option. I'm sorry. I've failed, came the communication from the Dagger XF. Datapad, seize control of that vessel, I started to say. The Dagger XF exploded. 2 of the missiles close by were caught in the explosion. Gutierrez, get us out of here before any more of them show up, I said. Miners, Elias, get everything strapped in because we are burning hot all the way back to Nuestra. Wait until we tell Rios about this one, Gutierrez said, frowning. Increasing speed, shutting down communications, running lights, sensors to max. Elias, let me know the second your patient is secure because it's time to set a speed record. All the miners are strapped in, Elias yelled from the back. Chef secured. Her vital signs are stable. The drone's secure, one of the miners said. Shuttle 2, redline those engines, Gutierrez said, and we took off. While Gutierrez flew, I took a look at the data from the drone. Emilio and Mr. Gunther had been right. It was undamaged. I spent the next few hours looking over every log, every sensor blip, every sensor echo, and if it wasn't for the AI in my arm, I would have missed it. We hadn't picked up any secret transmissions. What I found was worse. A long-range sensor echo that left me in shock. I needed Rios to look at this because either I didn't understand it, or, even worse, I did. That would explain why Nuestra was so important, that people were willing to kill for it. I had to talk to Emilio, fast. A day later, as we closed with Nuestra, my datapad beeped. I had 4 messages, one from Captain Rohan, one from Rios, both time-stamped almost 32 hours ago. Then a message from Doc, from 20 hours ago, and finally one from Emilio, time-stamped 6 hours ago. I started with the first. Captain Rohan's message, dated just a little earlier than Rios' message. Ian, Carla said you went joyriding. We've just landed. Our new ship is the Swift Current, and it might be newer than the Adi but it smells funny. I bet you can't wait to leave this little place. Well, the good news is that we lift off as soon as our engines are fixed and the second you get your butt back here." Carruthers stepped into view. "Hi, Ian. Since you're gone on your own vacation, Rowan and I can have our own little vacation, so don't hurry back. We'll be in one of the food courts as soon as we find somebody who can fix these antique things. I also want to look up Rias, if he's not in the mines, and see how he's doing. I want to buy him a beer for saving our lives," Rowan said. "Call us as soon as you get back, because we're already going to be late for this run. But it's not the same until we get the crew back together." It was good to see them. They looked well and happy in a new ship. They must have gone on Mr. Gunther's good side. Now the important message, Rias's. He stood in front of the white walls of medical, his head shaved again, and he tried to smile, but his lips trembled. Something about him scared me, and I gripped the datapad hard, trying to see what terrified me. This day had to come sooner or later. I was hoping for later. Your captain arrived. Captain Rohan and Carruthers picked up Guacamole just a little while ago, and your things. I guess you have a new home on the Swift Current. I wish I could go with you, but we both know I can't. I just wanted to say thank you for the last few weeks. I don't know how I'd have gotten through them without you. I love you, and I wish you well among the stars. If you ever come back, look me up." "Rias," a man said in the background, "it's time. I wish I could see you before you go, but Dr. Tanaka is here, and if I wake up—" "When you wake up," the other man said. "When I wake up, you'll be gone. I'm glad I got to meet you." That message ripped a hole in my chest. It was from 32 hours ago? I checked my datapad. We should be in range for immediate diagnostic results. We were. Rias's was steady, slow, even. No variation. I set the datapad down and stared at the readings. I closed my eyes and forced myself to breathe. The man I loved was on life support, and my captain had come to take me away. I played the next message. The next message came from Doc, time-stamped about 20 hours ago. If what I suspected was true, except for Tristan and Perlita, I'd never hated another person so much in my life. "Ian, I wanted to give you an update on Rias. What started as a 6-hour procedure is still going on, which makes it 12 hours and climbing. Don't worry, Dr. Tanaka will take good care of our little troublemaker. If Emilio knew what you had done, he wouldn't wait for the Bentley-Thwaite legal department to pass justice. He would pass it himself." Lastly, the message from Emilio. "I'm sorry, Ian. The procedure didn't go well. The second you get back, get to medical." My stomach shrunk with the fear. Gutierrez placed a hand on my shoulder. I heard. "Incoming call from Rafaela," my datapad said. She stood in front of medical, holding a crying Dalila. "Madra just told me Shuttle 2 arrived. Ian, if you want to say goodbye, get to medical fast." "Rafaela, what's going on?" I asked. Dalila screamed and said something I couldn't understand. "The new nanite structures aren't forming, and Dr. Tanaka doesn't know why," she said. "Rias is barely holding on." Gutierrez glanced at me and changed course. We weren't heading to the spaceport anymore. "CNC, this is Shuttle 2. Please be informed I'm dropping Ian off at South Dome Airlock before landing at the spaceport." "Confirmed, Shuttle 2. Tell Ian to hurry," Roland said. "Where's Emilio? I need to talk to him," I said. "Medical. He won't leave his godson alone," Carla said. "CNC out," Roland said. The shuttle approached the 5 domes, and Gutierrez deftly maneuvered the shuttle around the domes. "Ian, hurry and seal your suit up. I'm dropping you, Elias, and Chef off at South Dome Airlock, and I'll be there as soon as I can." "I'm fine," Chef said, "but if it gets me home sooner than the rest of you, I'll fake a cough." "Can you handle things by yourself?" I asked quickly. "You'll buy me a beer when this is over," Gutierrez said. It only took seconds before Shuttle 2 hovered over the plaza in front of the South Dome Airlock, and, with Elias on one side and me on the other, we held Chef and jumped down. The lighter gravity of Nuestra made it easy. A grav lift waited for us just inside the airlock, and we sped down the road to medical. Night mode had just shifted to day mode, and hundreds of people shuffled along to their workstations. Though South Dome was newer, it had just as much vegetation hanging from the buildings as North Dome. It's funny the things you notice when your lover might be dying. Rafaela waited in front of medical, holding Delilah. I ran up and hugged them. "Take Delilah home. I'll take care of Rias," I said. "You won't like what you see," she said. "Hurry." "I was bringing him breakfast," Delilah sobbed and screamed at the same time. "It was horrible. How could they do that to my brother? No, I won't go. Rias needs me." "It's my turn to take care of him," I said, unfastening my vac suit. "You go rest and be back for lunch, okay? I promise to call you if anything happens before then." I helped Elias get Chef inside. Captain Rohan and Carruthers sat in the small waiting room, and they rose as I entered. Emilio stood next to them, looking at least 10 years older. "I'm sorry," Emilio said, and came over and hugged me. "I was so mad at him. Everybody's always mad at him. It was just an airlock, and I got mad at him. It was a stupid airlock. That was the last time I saw him." "Give me your datapad. You need to see what happened on our trip," I said, and tapped my datapad to his. Just like Rias's, the information transferred. "I suspect we have one more traitor." "Tell me the details later. Rias needs you," Emilio said. I nodded at him and at Rohan and Carruthers. Elias helped Chef inside and opened a cupboard and tossed me a medical jumpsuit. "I checked on the way over. 3rd floor. You can't miss it. I'd come up, but I have to see my family. We could have died, and I'd never see them again. I have to hold Muñeca." "I understand. Go," I said. "Elias, I'll ride the tram with you. Tell me what happened," Emilio said. "We'll talk when you come back down," Rohan said, and hugged me. I ran up the stairs, taking the vac suit off and jumping into the medical jumpsuit. I didn't care how ridiculous it might look or who saw. I had to find out what happened to my lover. On the 3rd floor was a door that said, "Authorized personnel only." I pushed the door open and found Rias. I froze and prayed he was unconscious. "Oh my God, what did they do to you?" I whispered. I wanted to scream as much as Delilah. Thank you for listening. Let's talk about the Zheng He, or specifically, who was Zheng He? According to Wikipedia, he lived in China from 1371 to 1433 or 1435. He was an explorer, mariner, diplomat, fleet admiral, and a court eunuch. He commanded expeditionary treasure voyages. In his roughly 60 years, he did a lot. The point is, he was an explorer. When I was naming the long-range exploration vessel that set up jump gates, I didn't want to use the standard names everybody had seen. I wanted something with a touch of mystery. I don't know how I stumbled onto Zheng He. It was one of those random internet searches, and I'm glad I found it. By the way, it's not Zheng He, but Zheng He. It's kind of like a SH or CH sound, but with a Z. We don't have that sound in English. I had a friend from China back in high school whose name started with a ZH. That's how I first learned about it. I learned recently that Star Trek might have had a ship called the Zheng He. I don't know what season or what series. They've had thousands of ships over the decades. It doesn't surprise me. And it doesn't matter whether it was me or them that came up with it first. It was probably them. Somehow, we had the same idea, independent of each other. Wherever or whenever they used it, I hope they did the name justice. Thanks for listening, friends. Peace.